another thing is, and maybe Tracy can answer this, to what level do you feel is appropriate, or how can we help other kids to understand the needs of the students with ADHD, or why they might act the way that they do in a way that's supportive?
You know, thanks, Nicole. And Lana, as you were talking about music, it made me realize that I just automatically always have music on in my classroom. And sometimes I forget that I've even done it, because it's just a calming, right? It's just a calming sense to have a rhythm going on that's not intrusive, not, loud, obnoxious rap that can, set people off. It's just calming, soothing music. And that's one of the things that, you learn if you pay enough attention. So I was going to start with a different story, but actually, Coach, would you mind taking over at this point and telling us what you wish you had when you were going through your K-12 education from your peers? If you can give some insight to that, it'll change my focus to where I was going to where actually Nicole would like me to be, and where I should be, truthfully.
Okay, so
a team effort.
Well, sure, Tracy. I'm assuming when you mean by peers is the students that I went to school with. I can tell you right now, my best friend, who I still keep in contact today, is a medical doctor out in San Diego at the Veterans Hospital. We call each other, we talk to each other, we text each other. So we had very similar names that began with K. And long story short, he was obviously smart. He's a doctor now, and I was not. So every day I would get there early at school, and he knew I struggled. And he would sit next to me and he'd say, "What's going on? Well, I don't understand this chemistry." He's like, "Sit down, let's go over this." It wasn't that he was teaching me something specific. It was that he cared enough to show me effort to say, "You matter and you can learn." That made me every day have my parents drop me off at school an hour to an hour and a half early, so he would spend time with me. I graduated high school because of that kid. I got a 3.68 GPA because of that kid, because he made me feel like I mattered and I was worth something and valued in the educational system. So can you imagine why I became a mentor and a coach is I'm trying to do my best to get people involved to be a mentor and a coach themselves, because you see the direct ripple of effect this has if we can really get to the kids who have this passion, who have this heart, who have this identity, that they can make an impact on Europe. I mean, they can really do a phenomenal job and make people feel like they want to learn and they can learn.
I appreciate that, Coach.
Thank you so much.
I deal with, well, we all deal with kids. I deal with kids that typically either they're, especially with the kinders or, TK or preschool, they don't necessarily recognize and understand their issues. They know they just have issues that are different. And as they get older, they learn to accept them a little bit more with guidance, of course, typically. But it makes me, going back to supporting friendships with peers in the classroom, Nicole, and thank you, Coach, brought me back to where I should be. I had this discussion with my wife yesterday, the day before, because she's a special ed teacher as well. She's working on her master's, and one of her current courses wants her to come up with an activity over the course of the semester to help kids with their behaviors. And when you mentioned, personal space, this is what our discussion was about. And as educators and parents alike, if we don't teach the strategies, who will, right? We can't, society's not going to accept somebody getting in your face without you responding, typically in a physical way, right? So if somebody walks up to you and gets too close, we're going to react in a way that could be perceived as negative. So I know I spend a lot of time teaching and practicing social skills, how to introduce yourself to somebody new, how to work on controlling, as I showed earlier with my fingers, how to make your energy burn off, different things that we can do in the classroom that will actually make society accept us a little bit more outside of the classroom. So one of the things we were talking about yesterday is actually just having the kid raise up their hand to see how far away they are. In the classroom, we can, and even when I mean classroom, it could be outside as well, but I typically mean with our classroom peers. We can actually touch somebody's shoulder without somebody freaking out if we've done our due diligence as educators to know what kids to work with at what time. And then eventually, you can work it out so that they don't have to put their hand up anymore. Maybe they look at their feet, the distance between the feet, to see what's socially acceptable. So it comes with concentrated effort, both inside and outside the classroom. Like I said, learning takes place everywhere, of how to get each kid to feel comfortable with, one, who they are, comfortable with introducing themselves and meeting new people without necessarily pushing or shoving, which isn't always negative. It could be just the way they communicate initially. So there are a ton of different ways, and going back to our teacher preparation programs, they don't teach us those. We need that face-to-face, we need that practice, we need that PD to actually walk us through it and have us live that as educators, to be able to take that and give it to the kids in our classroom. At least that's the way I see it.